Like there's fix that.
I think I'm going to do that, definitely.
Welcome everyone to this workshop. And I will say that usually this workshop, Bring in the New Year, is just restorative yoga. And it's typically a New Year meditation, as well as a sound meditation at the end. Hi.
No. Waiting for the tornado.
Yes,
stuff to
please.
lift.
We're literally just getting started, so you're good. However, can I ask you a favor? What's my car right there? Could you practice saying that? It's in the back of my car. It's not locked. Okay, sure. Thank you so much. I know you're a barefoot girl.
I'd move this over there, and then maybe move it over here. Yeah, wherever she wants to.
And then the props could really.
We should have
You made it on time.
Okay, I'm just gonna have to edit this part out.
She's gonna stay there, right? Yeah, she's gonna stay there with the props, I think, and just go
Okay.
up her mat and look at the door.
Okay.
Team
Efforts.
That was bad.
She's already got it down.
Over here.
Yes. So if you've never been to the studio before, down the hallway are the two bathrooms, even though they're signed male, female, they're unisex, it's fine, use either one. Be aware that this is restorative yoga, so if you do have to go to the restroom at some point, you may, because this is 2 hours in duration. You know, just notice that type of handle that the door has. Keep your hand on it as you open and close the door, just to respect the peace of others, instead of just letting it go and slamming, because that can be alarming if you've already drifted into relaxation. And that'll be just a little karma yoga we can all practice. All right, so we'll get started again. Welcome to this workshop. I was just saying, in years past, this workshop generally is just the restorative, a New Year meditation and a sound meditation. However, a number of years ago, I started doing a separate class that was more of a flow practice concerning the astrology and numerology for the new year. And they were usually two separate things. And I'm doing two separate ones in Mount Juliet, but I believe it was you, Sherry, that came up to me one day after class, and you were like, will you please do the astrology and numerology? And I was like, uh-oh, like I've already scheduled all my workshops. And then I just decided I can just make it all one. So we're just gonna do it all. So let's just start talking about the numerology and astrology first, because this will take me at least 20 so minutes to talk about it. And then we'll get to restore, and you'll get to steep in that information, and you'll get to de-stress and relax. And who knows, maybe we'll get a rainstorm come through. Hopefully the alarms on our phones will not be sounding off. But if they do, we're just gonna have to roll with it, okay? So, a number of years ago, I started this astrology and numerology. But when 2020 came, and I remember being in that other studio talking about the number 4, because 2020 in numerology was the number 4, we were talking about how the number 4 is about things that are hard and difficult and challenging. And I had mentioned at that time, there was going to be something coming from the air that was going to be impacting not only our nation, but the entire world. Little did we know it was going to be aerosol. Little did we know it was going to be something called COVID. and it was going to turn into a pandemic. But astrologically speaking, it was showing that all this was going to start to take effect between February and March. At least that's when we would start to realize it. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. The energy of 2021, I just said, has been equally challenging in its own right. 2021 numerically equivalated to the number 5. And number 5 in numerology is about drastic or dramatic changes. And you may or may not have experienced that personally or professionally, but I think most of us have experienced that. And if you didn't experience it personally or professionally, you have felt it in your community. You have felt it nationally, what it's done to us. And you have felt and seen what it's done to us globally. The energy of 2021 was very move forward, step back, move forward, slide back. There was a lot of holding and stalling patterns, even though we were really trying to move forward. That energy is still with us, even though we just celebrated at midnight this brand new year. The energies of the previous year usually do roll over into the new year until about the Chinese New Year. And I haven't looked on the calendar yet to see when the Chinese New Year hits, but it's based on a lunar calendar, different than our solar calendar. So usually the energy carries over till about February, around that time. So we're going to be seeing the same type of energy occurring. Astrologically, the same things that were lined up towards the beginning of 2020 are in the same lineup at the beginning of 2022, right? We can actually see that playing out already. We can see a lot of countries are already back in lockdown. We can see the numbers are rising. We've got this new variant, and luckily we're not shut down yet, and hopefully we won't get to that point. We'll see what happens. But the nice thing about moving into 2022 is it equivalates to the number 6. So basically you just add up 2 plus 0 is 2, then add another 2 is 4, then the last 2 is 6. Now, if you're looking at the number 6 in numerology, if you even just, think about how that number is shaped. I'm staring at you right now, which is really synchronistic. The bottom half of that number is about love and relationships and fertility and pregnancy and nurturing and nourishment and care and compassion and kindness and all things kind of motherly or part of like the divine feminine nature, which is beautiful, right? And so I want you to hold on to that, because the divine feminine energy is going to be coming in strong this year. Now, with everything, right, there's a shadow side, right? The 6 is trying to bring in a state of balance, because we've still been on this seesaw ride of 2021 with the number 5. So the 6 is here to say, let's try to bring in some balance. The shadow side of 6 is vanity, jealousy, things that are superficial, intolerance, control. So we may see the shadow try to rear its ugly head at times. You may see things wanting to come up and gain control. You may see things wanting to come up that are the flip side of the divine feminine. The nice thing about the divine feminine rolling in, and if you really study a lot of what's happening spiritually and what's happening astrologically, they say we're moving into the age of Aquarius. We're moving back towards the divine feminine nature. We're leaving the patriarchal age. And one of the things that's been showing up more and more and more since 2008 are things like corruption, systemic racism, systemic sexism, You know, basically all the ugly karmic stuff from our country has been revealing and coming up to the surface. And this is because of Pluto. Pluto's been playing with the natal chart of the United States of America. And so, and really, it's been playing with a lot of things around the world. But Pluto is about digging up the dirt. Pluto is about revealing things that were unseen, revealing things that's been hidden or kept from us. That's the energy of Pluto. So we've already been seeing this energy since 2008, and it's been in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn rules things like governments and institutions. Think about the Black Lives Matter. Think about the Me Too movement, right? It's revealing things with authority. It's revealing things about the government. It's revealing things about people in power, right? All this is becoming more open for us to see this for ourselves. Okay, so let me get back to 6. What was I going to say about 6? Oh, no, it was going back to 2s. The 2, because 2s show up a lot, right? Even in 2022, you got 3 2s. The number 2 represents partnership, cooperation, and the 0 represents wholesomeness, connection, unity consciousness, the universe. The 0 amplifies the energy of 2, which is about bringing 2 people or 2 sides together. Yay, right? Think about after the last couple political elections we've had, think about all the stuff that's been kind of surging up and coming to the surface, how much division and polarity it's caused, and how everyone in this corner is being self-righteous and not budging, and everyone in this corner is being self-righteous and not budging, and there's some of us in the middle that's just like, oh my God, what's going on? I just want to hold space in the middle, right? And some of us are flip-flopping. We're here one day, we're here another day, or we're starting to broaden our perspective, and where we could have been in one corner, we're like, oh, okay, well, I can see where you're coming from. I can see that ideology, and yeah, I may not agree with it, but I can understand it, right? So there's all of this starting to play out. So the good news is, even though there may be this flip-flopping divide, the energy of this year is being supported for us to try to start to build a bridge so that there's more cooperation and that we're going to start to come together. It's that whole idea of united we stand, divided we fall. So consider that as you embark into this new year. Are you being really stubborn in your stance? Could you soften the edges a little bit and really listen to someone that maybe has a completely different point of view? And bring some care and compassion into the conversation so we can actually get somewhere instead of staying stuck in the mud. That's the energy of this year. So I mentioned Pluto being the lord of the underworld. It's also about death, destruction, transformation, rebirth. It's also about bringing things into alignment with integrity. If there hasn't been integrity somewhere, it's time to bring it to integrity, which is exciting. That's really good news. Now, this is where it gets super interesting. Okay. We know every planet, dependent on their location from the sun, orbits the sun. And they all take a certain time reference to rotate and to evolve around the sun. Pluto, being the farthest away, takes the longest time, right? It's like something like 248 to 263 years, something like that. Pluto has already been playing with Capricorn in our charts. We know this. the Pluto is about to make its return around the sun. Okay, it's about to orbit its completion around the sun on February, month 2, 20th, another 2, amplified by 0, in the year 2022. Do you see the numbers here? Pluto's making its return around the sun at the time of the birth of the Constitution and when the Declaration of Independence was signed. This is massive for the United States of America. It is massive, I'm getting chills, for the whole world. Because who's one of the world leaders? The United States of America. This is exciting stuff, you guys. We are living through a really important time. And the theme for this year is revelations and revolutions. We are about to live through the next American Revolution. And it's going to be big. And it's going to be a lot of change. Now, I'm going to take a break from that because we're going to come back to this. Those of you that haven't been in my classes recently, I just did a whole series based on the kleshas. And the kleshas are mentioned in the Yoga Sutras. The kleshas are the mental afflictions that are the root cause of our suffering. We've been in this realm of suffering for a little bit, right? Okay, the kleshas, there's 5 categories. The first one is avidya, which means ignorance and illusion. Basically, when we're trapped in ignorance and illusion, we're not able to see the true state of the self or the true state of reality. The second one is the ego. The ego can get really inflated, right? A lot of us have been going through the death of an ego, right? If your whole life has been just completely turned over, you had a death of an ego. I know I did when the studio closed. It was like, well, there goes my whole identity, everything I've worked for 13 years. It's gone, you know? My role as a leader in the community, like all the things that came with it, was just like, boom, gone. And I know I'm not alone in this. I know a lot of you have had some major stuff too. The third one is attachments. Attachments is something that we talk about in yoga a lot. Don't be too attached. Attachments can cause suffering. Think about how attached we are to the way life was before the pandemic. Now, I don't know about you, but I've heard so many people say, I just wanted to go back to normal. I don't want it to go back to normal. I didn't like it before the pandemic. I didn't like the corruption being exposed before the pandemic, and I'm sure you didn't either. I don't like knowing that the United States is #1 in sex trafficking. #1? No, that's a problem. So the reason why this is coming to the surface is because it's going to take the awareness of it, and it's going to take our love backing it, because #2 and #6 is about love. It's going to take the love and the light through the exposure of it in order to heal it. We are going through a massive, massive healing. That's what this is. The earth is purging. Humanity is purging right now. The earth goes through its own evolution every so many hundred or thousands of years. And guess what? It's happening now. The poles are shifting. The Schumann's resonance is astronomically higher than it's ever been, and that is the heartbeat or the pulse of the earth. It's spinning and rotating faster, which is why time is really effed up right now. Time they're saying because of the Schumann resonance rising, a 24-hour period feels like a 16-hour day period, right? Don't you feel like you can't get as much done? It's like we're in a time warp. It's because of these changes. There have been more earthquakes, more volcanoes, more fires. I mean, poor Boulder and the surrounding area. There's not normally wildfires in Colorado at the end of December. And that just started happening. What's going to be happening in 2022 to 2024, we're going to be experiencing more of the planet going through her own evolution. There's a lot of energy in Pisces this year. Pisces is a water sign. There's going to be a lot of storms. There's going to be a lot of water. There's going to be flooding. The sea level's rising because of the snow and the glaciers melting. Like, it's happening. So those changes are real, and it's going to continue to get more and more real. Some of the stuff that was happening planetarily in the mid-1800s is happening now. And in the mid-1800s, it was all the great floods of Europe. We've already been seeing it though, right? There was flooding in China. There was flooding in Germany. Wasn't there flooding in Texas or somewhere recently? Somewhere in the US. So expect the earth to be going through these changes, but know that it's part of the process, okay? We're all having to go through it. The only bad thing about the earth changes are nature just does its thing. And it doesn't matter who you are or how good of a person you are or what political party you are or whatever you think you are, nature's just going to do its thing. And so there's no I don't know. I just feel like there's no reason to fear it. Going back to the glaciers, the attachments, we have to let go of the attachments of the way things were. We have to let go of the attachments of the way we think the world should be, because all of that's not working anymore. The healthcare system's not working anymore. Half of the population in America doesn't have insurance. I'm one of them. It's not working anymore. A lot of the people who are leaving the healthcare, and they've already been doing it, Dr. Kraut's been doing it here in Franklin. Daniel Williamson took his model and created her own. They're not alone in this. They don't take insurance. And they're not just relying on Western medicine, they're opening up their education and expertise to include all these other alternative therapies to go to the root of the problem, so they're not always just prescribing drugs, right? They're gonna say, you need to get your diet right. You need to start exercising. You need to, let's take all these tests and figure out what you're allergic to in your diet that you're not even aware of. What's causing your leaky gut? What's causing this or that? They're going to the root cause. This is happening more and more and more. And now that the vaccines were mandated and a lot of people had to leave the profession because for whatever reason they didn't want to do it, they're starting to group up and they're starting to make their own alliances. And this is going to create a big change in our healthcare system. The economy is going to change. Expect it. It's going to happen. It's all being revealed in astrology because it's all written in the stars. I have heard, you can follow other people because I'm just getting the information. I'm not an astrologer. I just follow all these people to get this information. They are saying if you have a lot of investments, put it in towards things of the earth, gold, silver, things like that, so that you're protected more than, say, a company. Because everything's going to start getting reassessed and reanalyzed. Think about restaurants even through the whole pandemic. They were losing their employees left and right. They had to make significant changes. They had to shorten their hours due to lack of supplies. They had to reduce the menu. They had to start paying their employees more money to keep people working, right? They're having to restructure everything. My business couldn't last. I just had to shut down But there's gonna be more and more of this happening at a much larger scale. So be aware of that, but it's not all that. Okay, now going back to February 20th, 2022, Pluto is making its return in the natal chart of the United States of America. 2 days, another 2 days after that, on February 22nd, 2022, Neptune moves into 22 degrees Pisces. This is opposing the United States Neptune in Virgo at 22 degrees a few days later. Neptune will then move into 22 degrees in 22 minutes. So what I want to say about the number 22 now is, when you see 22, two twos put together, it's an angel number. So with it being an angel number, we are being loved and supported from the other realm. This, I mean, when you really look at all this, it's like, this is divinely ordered. This is divinely set up. And if you don't believe in the divine, surely you believe in just energy, because the energy runs and operates through everyone. And you can see the energy of all this is supporting it. It's inevitable. The last klesha that I wanted to mention, well, the last 2 kleshas, which are the mental afflictions, is aversions and the fear of change, the fear of the unknown, or the fear of death. So if you're a biblical person, right, a lot of people are saying this is biblical, we're living through biblical times. And that's one reason this year is said to be revelations and revolutions. Now, my dad was a preacher in the Church of Christ, and he believed in numerology. He really understood numerology is an ancient science. Astrology is something he would ignore, but that is equally an ancient science. And you can see how all of it is working in cooperation together. There's something else I was going to say about that. Come back to it. So 22 is not just an angel number, a loving and supportive number. It's considered a master number in numerology, and it's considered the master builder. Well, if astrology is saying we're about to go through an American Revolution and everything as we know is getting ready to change, and they've been saying 2020 to 2024 is the collapse and rebuild of our whole society. The master number 22 is fantastic because it's the master builder that's going to help whatever collapse, new resources, new people, new ideas, new innovative ideas are going to be coming to the surface to help us to rebuild the foundation from a place of love. If you think about some of the things that have been produced because of power and manipulation and control and fear, that's what's going to crumble. That's what we're going to see go away. And then we're going to start to see all these new things built on love, which is great. It's going to build back better. So that could be another theme for 2022. If you don't like revelations, revolutions, build back better. Okay, anything else I want to say about this year? I had another note in here. It's an era defining shift. Oh, this is the other thing I want to say. Because of the 2 and the 6 coming up over and over again, it's about being in the heart, living from the heart, making choices from the heart. This is going to be another year with big decisions and big choices. And as long as we're staying connected to the heart and looking at it, is this loving, compassionate, kind, caring? Does it include the whole? Are we leaving anybody out, right? These are questions to ask. The true intuitive center is said to be the heart. And if we follow the inner compass of the heart, it's not going to steer us wrong. And the last thing I want to say for now about the astrology and numerology for this year is the theme for 2021, if you noticed, there was a lot of healing, karmic healing, self-healing, ancestral wounds that were being healed. The same energy of that is rolling over to 2022. So there will be a lot of emphasis on health and healing for this year too. And that's at every level, from physical to mental to emotional to spiritual, all of the above. I think that's all I want to say about that. And I'm gonna give you a little bit more at the end, but we're gonna go ahead and start with some restoration. I did decide to bring in sandbags at the last minute. Sandbags are very grounding. And I think it would be nice to get really grounding at the start of the year. So if you could have your sandbag close to your body, and I'm going to be coming around and putting them on your feet once you're in this pose. Now watch me get into this first position. It's going to be legs up the wall. And some of you already know how to get into it, but you may have been a while. Maybe you forgot. So you're going to sit on the corner of your mat with one hip kind of up the wall. You're going to lower to your side and roll onto your mat and then send the legs up. Now I'm already flush to the wall and this is fine for my hamstrings. This is good for my back. If it's not good for your hamstrings or you feel like I want to bend my knees, then you can just shimmy back a little bit and I can still put the sandbag on. Okay. If you grabbed a towel, you can wrap the towel over the eyes. If you need more support underneath your head, you can pull a blanket up underneath. So for now, just lie down on your side at the corner of your mat, side fetal position, roll onto your backs, send the legs up the wall, and then flex your feet and push up through your heels. Go ahead and determine whether or not you need anything under your head. This is a good pose to start off in because you just took in a lot of information. And this pose is naturally calming for the mind and the nervous system. So there's no reason to be analytical at this point. In fact, if your mind is busy thinking, I would suggest bringing the breath under your command. Take at least 6 full, deep, diaphragmatic breaths. After the completion of those 6 full breaths, you can let the breath become more organic. So so that it can just naturally ebb and flow. This position that you're holding is really good for circulation. Bringing the blood flow naturally towards the abdomen. Using gravity to bring it back towards the heart. So the heart doesn't have to work as hard. This pose can stabilize your pelvis, can lengthen your low back. It can be very grounding and centered. I think we were all joyous to see the new year arrive. So each breath that you take in, visualize you're taking in this new, supportive, loving energy. Breathing out the old stale or stuck energy, the old ways that no longer work, the old ideas that we've outgrown. adding an affirmation. Break up the thoughts that may be rolling. So affirm mentally to yourself. Silently with them. New energy, new peace, and new unity consciousness is flooding down and through my being. New energy, peace, the new state of unity consciousness is flooding down and through my being. That chime you just heard was the sound or note for the first chakra. And that includes the legs and the feet. Something we were working on with this position. Continue to relax and breathe, but I'll walk around to remove the sandbag for you. The sandbag being removed, you're welcome to slide the feet a little wider than hip width. And then bring them down the wall, bending the knees, coming into more of a stirrup or tree frog position. Like you're doing a squat at the wall. Feet can turn out. Knees can flop away. Inner thighs relax. Just bringing a little bit more of that energy flow down into the hips. Our next pose is actually going to focus on the hips. So go ahead and begin to roll off to your right side. That way you're just all going in the same direction. And slowly come up. I like choices. How many of you get choice? One choice for the next pose is to put the bolster in between your thighs as you widen your knees. And to roll down to child's pose. Now, if you come to child's pose, you can expect a sandbag to be placed over your sacrum, which is really nice. If you would rather do recline butterfly, you could take the bolster under the knees with the feet together. Or you could have the feet together stacked on top of the bolster until or unless it becomes too much, and then you can slide it over this way. So I'll let you determine which position you would rather be in. Child's pose, expecting me to come around with the sandbag to place over your sacrum, or you can be on your back and open into the butterfly. If you're noticing your body temperature dropping and want to stay warmer, you can use one of those blankets you grab to cover up your body. The towel, of course, can shield the eyes. So we're moving into the second chakra, and I want to explain that one of the spiritual lessons for this energy field is the whole idea of trusting and surrendering. And that may be a good motto to take into 2022, trust and surrender. The second chakra is also related to the water element. So it's about going with the flow, being adaptable to change. It's also about letting go of any guilt or shame. If you've been holding on to any guilt or shame from your past, this is the perfect time to let it go. To give yourself grace, to give yourself forgiveness, so that you can move forward. And we will get more of this supportive energy to move forward by the spring. So affirm mentally within and silently to yourself. Secure in myself, I accept whatever is. Secure in myself, I accept whatever is.
been resting on one side of your face in child's pose, you can turn to reside on the other. And if you've been resting on the midpoint of your brow, you can just stay. And again, to plant this positive seed in your mind and heart. I will accept everything that comes my way as an opportunity for further growth. Secure in myself, I accept whatever is as I navigate through these new waters. as that note plays out for the second chakra, come around to take the sandbag away from those of you in child's pose.
For those of you who have been in reclined butterfly, you can fold your knees back together and you can hug them in, wrapping your arms lovingly around. For those from child's pose, slide your hands in closer to your shoulders, push down through your palms and rise up. So I mentioned with 2022, there's going to be a lot of choices to make. I want to give you a choice for the next pose too. We're going to do a twist. For Chelsea, she's going to need to do the second twist. It'll just be better for the baby in pregnancy to do the second one on demo. But the first one, you would have the bolster alongside your right hip. The knees can be staggered or stacked. You can even put a blanket in between. And then you'll lift up energetically, turn towards the bolster, walk your hands beside it to go belly down, chest down, face down. Okay, and you can be on either cheek, whatever feels better for your neck. That's the first one. That is a deeper twist if you want it to be deeper. Your second option. You don't have to be pregnant to take it, but this is going to be better for you. You can put the bolster in between the legs. Move the knees to the left side, and you're going to be on your back with your arms splayed out. And if you don't have room beside you to go out like this far, the arms can be lower beside you or even up like goalposts. So you can play around with those two options. Decide what your body prefers. Yeah. If you need me to instruct you again, I can. It looks
Can
like
you
you're all
just
getting it.
say the first one again?
Sure,
Am I doing it right?
absolutely. Yeah. So your hip would be against the bolster, and you lengthen your back, and then you spin to face it. You frame it with your hands, walk it down, and then slowly lower onto it. You got it. Yeah. You can always drape the towel over the eyes. If you want to shield that light. You can always cover your body with a blanket. And I'll be happy to cover you as well if you give me a hand raise or a little wave.
Give yourself permission to drop into a state of being versus doing. Usually after I shapeshift into another position, I suggest it's always a good idea to take a few deep breaths. Maybe you want to just do a couple. Maybe you want to do 6. Each twist we do is ideal for the 3rd chakra. That's our place of power. It's the seat of the ego. It's where we build resilience, where we have and hold our inner strength. It gives us drive and motivation towards passionate pursuits. But the twists are also good for all 7. Making the spine more flexible, improving our digestive system, cleansing our respiratory system. So there's a lot of good that stems from these twists. You can breathe down into your belly. Let it bellow as you breathe. And shine is our signal to change our position to the other side of the twist. So on your back, you can just carry that bolster with you and switch the knees to the other side. If you've been on the front side of the body, you'll come up. You'll turn so that your left hip is now connected to the bra. Make sure you elongate your spine before rotating to face the prop. Walk your hands beside it. And then dependent on which side of your face you rested on, turn to the other for the second side. I'll go under the face or over the eyes. And affirming as you hold. I am opening myself up to a new flow of energy within. I'm opening myself up to notice and to receive any new opportunities that come my way. I am open, readily available for any revolutions or revolutions. Maximize your breath for a few rounds or letting it go. After hearing the mindfulness bell sound, take that as your cue to deepen your breath. Those of you in the twist, you can roll to your right side, Push down to the left hand to come up to take a seat. Those of you that were face down, slide your hands back and rise up. This bolster is now going to go behind your back. One of the blankets is going to roll up or trifold and will slip under your knees. The second one, you can cover your body, but this is what I suggest with the sandbag. Placing it over the top of your thighs. And then of course you can cover your body. And then you'll take a restorative back bend. And if you don't want the sandbag, you don't have to use it. But like I said, it can be very grounding. And I did suggest the blanket under the knees because the weight of the sandbag can push the legs down, which will force the knees lower, and you want to protect those joints. Would anybody like to be tucked in? Arms can take any shape of your liking. If you recall from our discussion in 2022, has that component of loving energy. Making choices in which we're led by the heart. And how the positive side of the number 2 is about cooperation and partnership and relations. And the number 6, having the qualities of nourishment, nurturing, care, kindness, and compassion. And hopefully you feel this being expressed in this pose. And I know that you already have these qualities embedded in your heart. Affirm mentally within, free in my heart, I choose to live without fear. Free in my heart, I choose love. Free in my heart, I choose to live without fear. Free in my heart, I choose love. Feel free to keep your ears open.
and to listen towards this New Year meditation that I wrote out last evening. It's written somewhat like affirmation, so you can repeat any of these to yourself if something really resonates. I embrace the dawning of this new year. And I know that I am lucky to be alive during this pivotal time. I choose love over fear to help humanity evolve. I choose to focus on simple joys and pleasures in 2022. These simple joys and pleasures could be a nice walk in nature, or curling up with a book. It could be gathering with friends and family, or taking time to be all by myself. I intend to fill my days with wonder and beauty, good food and good company. I choose to commune with people who are supportive, accepting, and understanding. I open and expand my mind and heart, knowing that there is an infinite supply of love. I invite art and music into my life. I enrich my health and move into a state of healing. I intend to stay grounded and present for myself and others. I practice mindfulness to build up my awareness and to trust my intuition. Whenever I'm feeling low, I will find a way to lift my spirit. Whenever I feel depleted, I will find ways to nourish my soul. When I feel uncertain, I will create a gratitude list to remind myself of everything that's good and right with the world. I will embrace inevitable change and remind myself often that I am the co-creator of my life. I welcome new opportunities and blessings. And I will look at challenges as being potential for growth. I stay resilient despite what happens in our society. For I know I am supported by the universe. I am beloved by the divine, and I know that all is working out for the greater good. I am hope. I am faith. I am at peace. And I am worthy of abundant joy and love. That is the tone for the heart chakra. And I'm going to give you a choice for the final piece of our practice. You can stay if you are comfortable as you are in this pose, because it may be that you don't want to move. And so you can stay here for the sound meditation. If you want a different shape, you can take the sandbag away from the thighs. And you can take the bolster under the knees. And you can take the sandbag over the rim of the pelvis for the lower part of your belly. I am going to dim the overhead lights for this segment. We'll get too steep in the sound. So all you need to do is listen, absorb, relax, and enjoy.
Into deep in the flow of your breath. As you develop the deeper breath, feel at liberty to move your hands and feet gently. Perhaps hugging the knees in or just rocking the knees from side to side. And then building your way up to a comfortable seat. You come up to take a seat. You can turn your palms open on your lap. Turn the eyelids down. Our new journey begins today. Now that we know a little bit energetically of what this year will bring, I want you to take a moment to sit with yourself to consider if you made a resolution, which is typically something that we want to change. Perhaps changing our old ways or poor habits into something better. And if you don't create resolutions, I want you to consider an intention. An intention is just something you want to move forward with. It doesn't necessarily have to be a yogic intention. And if you don't want to think about resolutions or intentions, how about thinking of just one word that you may want to describe
or invite in this coming year? Someone yesterday just said, I just want to have fun. I'm just going to have fun in 2022. That's their word, fun. Last year, a big word was hope. Yours may be trust, surrender, acceptance. And then whether you chose a resolution or an intention or just one singular word, I want you to seal that in your hands as you bring them to prayer position at your heart. And this is the way I want us to seal our practice together. From the very beginning of listening to the numerology and astrology, to steeping in stillness in these poses, completing it with sound meditation, and then taking this seed with you. The light and the love within my heart bows respectfully to the love and light within yours. Namaste. Namaste. Thank you guys so much for attending. The very last thing that I want to say before we close out and gather everything and walk away is, now I've only heard one astrologer say this, but I listen to a lot. But this one is one of my favorites, and she was saying several times last year and even moving into this year, she said, don't put off anything in 5 or 10 years if it's something really kind of brewing inside of you. She was like, don't wait for retirement. Don't wait for 5 or 10 years until all this is done. Consider what's on your bucket list and set a goal to do something on that list, to go somewhere on that list, to face whatever fear you haven't faced yet, or to have some sort of experience you've always longed for, yet you've been putting off until later. And this is the reason why. She said there's so many changes that have already happened and that are going to continue to happen. We don't know if those things will still be around. If the sea level is rising, the continents will be changing. So consider a coastal destination you've never been to before. I created a retreat to Greece because I want to get to Greece. I've always wanted to go to the Greek islands. So that's something that's been on my bucket list that I created specifically for this year. And a lot of it had to do with her kind of promoting this. She said a lot of certain things won't be standing anymore. We already see things falling away. But she was like, even amusement parks, if you've been really wanting to go take that roller coaster, that may not be there in another year or two from now. Go ride that roller coaster. Well, not me right now. But, you know, dream big, think big, and do things. Happy New Year. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, goodness.
Those are amazing.